And then I punched him in the face again.
Oh, shit. How many times did you nail that dude?
Like 7. Fuck that guy.
Oh, my God.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Sorry, we're running a little late. Oh, what Dimitri post?
What's Dimitri up to?
There was a lot of words. I'll read it later. Hey, Cody. Hey, Jim. Hey, Dan. Hey, Laura. Good to see you all.
Hey, folks. Hey, folks. Sorry I missed last week.
I know, right? Like you out last week, Jeff out this week. I got to make sure I apologize for last week. So I'll say it on the show. What looked good to you to talk about?
We got to talk about Skunky Beer.
Skunky Beer. Yep. Okay.
And then
do we have to talk about that one? That one's really not that interesting. I didn't think
but it is
okay
for a reason, because I have and I probably talked about it on the show before, but we can reiterate it again. And then there's some secret story you need to get a reaction from me.
Yeah. That one won't take long. We might be able to get through all 3.
All right.
So I'm just drinking a beer tonight. You've got the wine that you had last week, so
I've got the wine from last week, and I also have just in case it goes a little longer.
I just finished mine like 2 Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. If I finish mine, I got a malt. I got the malt.
I like the malt. I like the barley malt one. It was really good.
Yeah. I better get a glass because I'm going to get to it. Let's be honest. So let's get into the show. Let's do your tasting. I'll briefly mention what I'm drinking, but I'm not going to do tasting on it. And then I'll remember to say why somebody's not on the show this week, as opposed to just glossing over them and freaking all our listeners out. And then we'll see if we get through 3 booze newses.
All right.
And then if you got a story, that'll take up another 30 minutes.
No, I mean, it's just the final thoughts about Moose.
Okay. So we might be a short episode tonight. I'm sure Jim is happy to hear that. Being out there on the East Coast. But yeah, that should be it. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, can you hear this? Cool. All right. You ready?
Let's go.
Let's fucking do this thing. They changed like how the layout of this is now, and it always freaks me out when I switch over to it. Okay, here it is. All right, here we go.
At the sound of the tone, the official "We Like Drinking" time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 343 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing No More Bear Hair, a secret story for shock value, and we're all drinking something special tonight. So crack open that beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking.
I feel obligated to say, yeah, boy.
I'm a little worried about tonight's show, John.
Because
how many dogs do you have in your recording studio right now?
2.
I also have 2 dogs in my recording studio.
Yes,
so
Marcy showed me that Jack's tongue was hanging out of his mouth, and it was actually longer than the rest of his body.
Yes, and it always hangs one direction. It's not right. The dog is just not right.
It looks like a harp seal with a very bad dental problem.
Yeah.
Poor Jack.
That's pretty pretty spot on. So let me say cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 343 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun and dogs. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe.
Subscribe?
Close enough. All right. You know, we don't have a lot to do tonight, but we'll still get right into the show and say tonight we are joined by our usual panel members. We have our commercial brewer and snake wrangler, John Riak.
That's me.
And I am your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. So,
besides wrangling snakes last night, I wrangled some wild turkeys.
Ooh, that had to be fun. Were they in shot
wrangle them.
glasses?
I went down to a wildlife refuge last night, and they were all over the place. There's just like this is a time of year turkeys kind of hang out.
Okay,
it was cool.
That's cool.
They make a lot of noise.
So last week on the show, I did the intro and I just introduced Jeff Solomon and me, and I'm like, okay, Jeff, remember in your head, I said, hey, brain, hey, dickhead. I was like, make sure you say why John's not here. And then we immediately went into like the fun and the tasting. And the next thing I know, the show's over. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't think I said anything about John. No big deal. Like the show releases, my phone's just like, brr, 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 brr. What happened to John? What'd you do? Like I'm a jerk and did something to John. So this week, let me say, Jeff Solomon won't be with us tonight. He will be here next week. He has some family things that he is not making the show tonight for. John, dude.
Yeah, I had some family things I had to take care of last week. My oldest moved from Oregon to Anchorage, and they felt it was going to be a little bit too much in one car to take 2 dogs and a 3-year-old. So my wife and I flew to Portland. We picked up our 3-year-old and we flew him to Alaska from Portland, and we kept him with us for 4 days while they were coming through Canada. And I hear Jack panting, by the way, but usually vacations are relaxing. I'm exhausted. My wife and I took care of a very active 3-year-old young man with an incredible vocabulary, which consists of one word. Why? Why? Why?
Yes.
Why? I will say, okay, this is not my story for the end of the show, but I probably, my son is very literal and he doesn't, tell any fables. He doesn't believe in the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus or anything like that. But my 3-year-old does believe in the moose spooky man.
Ooh.
So we didn't see any moose for the first 4 days we were there. And he's like, we're not seeing any mooses. Papa, where's the moose? Where's the moose? I said, I think the moose are scared of the moose boogeyman, and he's keeping them in the woods. And so he's like, he's like, the moose spooky man. So that was it for the rest of the time. Is the moose spooky man was keeping the moose in the woods. So we show up at their house. So they finally move in, and she's talking about the moose spooky man. And my son and his wife are looking at me like, what the hell's going on? So he's going to be talking about the moose spooky man with his friends in the neighborhood, and it's going to be like the Great Pumpkin, right?
Yes. Were the death stares from your son and his
pretty
wife?
special. They were pretty special. What the hell? Moose spooky man. What? I made sure he understood that the moose spooky man only scares moose. He doesn't scare people.
Oh, okay.
So he can't be scared of the moose spooky man. Only moose can be scared of the moose spooky man.
Oh, okay. Right.
So creating legends. That's part of being a grandpa, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Scaring the tar out of them. Yes.
Right.
All the things. Okay. So let's get into the show. let's start off with what we're drinking. I'll go first. This is a Colorado brewery. This is just such a good beer. This is from Weldworks Brewing. This is the Juicy Bits IPA. I didn't cue it up, but yes, it's hazy.
Is it hazy? Yes.
Yes, it is. And you know what? It doesn't say on it. It does not say hazy.
Oh, really?
So this one would fall into that category because it is most definitely a hazy beast.
Yeah, JVB. I did say Moose Spooky Man.
Moose Spooky Man. The Moose Spooky Man. I like that. All right, John. So what's in your glass?
So we, I guess you guys tasted the Yount Ridge proprietary blend last week, 2009,
We did.
and so I opened that up, and yes, you do, Laura.
I mean, I think you said both. I think you did say Boogeyman at one point.
I did, but he turned it into Moose Spooky Man, so that's what we're going with.
Okay.
So I'm drinking the Yount Ridge proprietary blend for 2009. Today, Sharon and I weren't sure we were able to get home, and she's training. She's doing mini tri training again, and I left work and I couldn't leave work until about 5:15 because our closing supervisor for the front of the house didn't get there until then because the traffic was horrible, right? And I get out, I'm driving home, and the traffic's just as soon as I drive out from where we're at, and I see just lines of cars on the highway. And Sharon calls me right away. I don't think we can get home.
Ooh.
And everything. And the exit to the interstate to our development was closed off. The road that comes across the foothills that the exit empties onto is closed off. There's detours all over the freaking place. And it was just, everything was closed off. So we finally got, I'm talking her through the whole thing, go through this neighborhood, go through that neighborhood. We finally get home. She goes, "You're drinking wine on the show tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, we're opening it now."
Open it now.
Now. So we made nachos and we opened up the Yount Ridge. And I got to say, first of all, and I'll give you some tasting notes in a second, but it's 85, what you talked about last week, 85% Cabernet, 10% Petit Verdot, and 5% Malbec. The tannins on this are just so smooth. Just so they're there, but they're not sharp. They carry the fruit, and it's just really a pleasant drinking experience for people that like cab. And it's just the heat's there because it's a cab. The acidity's nice. We made nachos that had a lot of cheese on it, so it went great with that. Held its own against the salsa, and our homegrown jalapeno and havasu peppers that I cut up and put on there held its own against that. Nice dark fruit, so tiny little bit of black pepper, some like coffee notes that I'm getting from it.
Okay.
So kind of these bright flavors, but coffee is kind of a mellow thing that's on the background. So it's kind of like the fruit up front, a little bit of sharpness from the acidity and the black pepper notes, and then this like coffee thing at the end. So I really like it. Really nice bottle of wine.
It was really good. Like the original plan for me was I was report it, and I was like, I'll just wait till next week, and then I'll do a tasting with John again. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
It didn't make it. It I don't think it made it past Thursday of last.
Well, look, I mean, we're not huge. I mean, it's empathy. Sharon's not a big cab drinker, but she had no problem helping me with a glass and a half. So, yeah, that's it. And the color's just nice, and the ring around the liquid in the glass is really. I was worried when I first poured it. It looked a little brown, but it just was the way my light was in the kitchen at the time. No oxidation all going on here.
No, and
Nice.
it's a great drinking time for it. Like it's a really good, this is a 2009.
I can't imagine that the peak is anywhere close to far out from here. If there's a peak, it can't be more than 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah, if I had some, I'd be drinking it now. It's
I can't imagine it being any better, really, honestly. Really,
Right.
really nice, really nice wine.
right. And $60 for the bottle, normally 120. So pretty good deal for that one.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Not going to taste the juicy bits. I'm just drinking it. All right, let's get into the show. What do you think? You ready?
Go for it.
All right. Oh, this will be interesting. Let's get into
Wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference. I'm going to go around the room. I'm going to point to my left and give this dude a term, and he's going to guess at it, and he's going to try not to look at JVB's answers or anybody else's. So this week's term is flocculation. Flocculation.
Damn it. Flocculation. I know this one. I know this word. Flocculation. This is going to make me so mad when you say what it is, because I absolutely know what this is, but I'm completely drawing a blank to it right now. In my head, my gut said that this is a spirit term, but I have no clue what it can be. I cannot remember this at all. I'm so embarrassed because I know I just looked at the comments. JVB is like, dude, you better know this. This is an easy one.
So for anybody that doesn't know how to spell this, reference the notes.
Let me get into the show notes here.
Like chat, but it's FLOCCULATION, flocculation.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think if I went to our cards, I think I put it into the list of terms, but I'm not sure if it made.
Don't you open that fucker up?
No, I'm just gonna see if it's there. I'm not gonna look. I think. No. Oh, flogger's there though.
Yeah.
No. Okay, it's not. All right, go for it.
Okay, flocculation is it could be a beer, wine, or spirit term.
Mm-hmm.
Flocculation is the propensity of yeast to settle out of solution.
Yes.
So different yeasts flocculate differently, and their rates of falling out of solution. So lager yeasts take a really long time because they just kind of float around in there, and they're very light and not very dense. And they go around and they eat up little bits of the beer very slowly and then settle out over several weeks. Ales tend to flocculate much quicker, and they just by their cell chemistry and their ability to retain CO2 from fermentation and things like that, sink to the bottom quicker. English yeasts in particular for beer flocculate very quickly and very well and clear the beer without any fining agents. So flocculation is a beer, wine, or spirit reference in reference to yeast falling out of solution. You didn't get it.
No. I may have got a quarter point, but that's about it. Right. And you know what? Guess what? That wins.
Everybody learned something.
That's
true. Yeah, true. You won with a quarter of a point. Competition was tough this week.
It was tough. I had to beat out the dog. Hey, folks. You know, we're drinking a fantastic beer tonight. I am, and John's drinking a fantastic wine. But you know who else makes fantastic wine? Our good friend Lori Budd over at Dracaena Wines. And we've got a fun partnership to tell you about this and just about every week that we don't have a guest on. Lori over at Dracaena Wines is offering up a special deal to listeners of the We Like Drinking podcast. If you purchase any wine from her, that could be the Chenin Blanc, that could be multiple of their Cabernet Francs, that could be their Rosé. You go to the checkout, you put in WLD as the promo code, you're going to get 5% off your order. In addition, the We Like Drinking podcast is going to get 5% of the order. So look at it this way. You put in WLD, you get some fantastic wine. Look at all the wins you get. Solomon challenged me to get 5 wins out of this last time. So let's see if we can get it. You get 5% off the wine. You get fantastic award-winning wine delivered to your door. Lori gets a sale of her wine. The We Like Drinking podcast gets 5% of the order. And we get to keep telling you about this deal each and every week. It is a win, 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 win. You know what else that is? That's 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%,
Oh
percent per win. So check it out, welikedrinking.com/wine.
I've got some tape that'll seal the bottom of your boat if you need anything else.
But wait, there's more. No, there's not. Man, this Juicy Bits is hitting me because John is blurry. I like double visioning up here.
Yeah, I am blurry. I'm blurry to me too. It could be that it's very humid here in Albuquerque, so I'm not,
I don't know. Now John is palming his camera. This is the best podcast ever. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we're not even a quarter way through the show and we're already to this bit. So this should be fun. Let's get to Booze News. We discuss interesting, noteworthy, or sometimes some pretty silly things. Let's be honest, most of the time we're talking about pretty silly things on this bit. Let's see. You got a preference on what we start with here, John?
No, you're in charge of the show. Fire it up.
All right. I'm going to start with you're going to have to help me out on this one because I put it in there, but I don't remember a ton about it. But you know how when we have beers on this show, especially some of your more macro style beers, especially ones that may come from Europe kind of areas, we may describe some of the wines as having, we generally like to call it the frat floor aroma to it. Some people might call it skunky, but there has been some scientific study into why that is, specifically why bottled beers sometimes smell like weed or fraternity floors. But it goes into the reason behind that. And this one that really is no surprise, I think, to any of us, it has to do with the way the hop oils or the hops react to sunlight. So when you're talking about Corona, bottles that are clear in nature, it gets this amplified and coming in more. Interesting side note that they say that may be the reason that they start putting lime in Coronas is because it's skunky so often. But specifically, the reason is that shit. All right, I'll have to edit this part up because I can't find it right now. Okay, so beers that are overexposed to sunlight, it causes these molecules to become free radicals. Okay. And so then those atoms or molecules have an unpaired electron, which makes them highly reactive. And the free radicals mix with protein and form another happy molecule called 3-methyl-2-butane-1-thiol. And that is extremely potent and it gives the smell of skunk or cannabis possibly. And it is so strong that it can eat that 1 part per billion can
Yes.
be picked up
Yeah.
by the human nose.
Yes. Yep. And that's a pretty intense thing. And it's an oxidation process.
Mhm.
So, the sunlight is going through, it's breaking up those molecules. The free radicals kind of float around. They grab onto those proteins, and I think they grab onto a free oxygen proton to complete
I think
the
so.
larger molecule. So it's an
Mhm.
oxidation process. So interestingly, well, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
To me, the smell of skunk, I mean, I've never been sprayed, but I've gotten close.
Okay.
I was really trashed at my apartment in college one time when I was heading over to the fraternity house, and I walked up to what I thought was a cat, and it was a skunk standing on its front feet, ready to spray me in the face. I'm like, oh shit. Running as fast as I can out of that yard to get away from that. So I came this close to getting sprayed in the face by a skunk. I do a lot of traveling in the backcountry. I've seen a lot of dead skunks on the road. If you ever run over a freshly killed skunk, they taste like a very weird mixture of garlic and onions. And to me, it's not.
They taste like?
They smell like. Excuse me. They smell like a very weird combination of garlic and onions. It doesn't bother me that much. Would I want that on my clothes? Absolutely not. Would I want that on my skin? Absolutely not. But just the aroma of it in and of itself, you're walking through the woods, you get a little too close to a skunk, they spray a little bit to tell you they're there, and fine, whatever. But to me, it's not that bad. But I will say, hops. And my wife, I would come home from the brewery, and she's like, "Were you smoking when you were at work today?" I'm like, "What?" But yes, if you're working with hops and then you're working with a sanitizer, you get a little bit of hop oil in your hands, and then you put your hands in the sanitizer. The sanitizer is an acid. That's a free oxygen molecule, and it immediately turns that stuff into something that smells a lot like weed.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, you even open some beers and they can smell like weed, just like a
They can smell like
non-oxidized
weed.
one too.
They can
The
smell
dank.
skunky. Yeah,
Mhm.
the dankness, the skunkiness. I don't want that in my beer. I don't mind it in the woods when I'm walking around, but I don't want to drink it.
No.
But it does, and it's kind of disturbing because what if I was pulled over by a police officer on my way home, and I haven't been drinking, I haven't been smoking, but I smell a lot like pot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's like, oh shit,
That's a legit thing.
No, I've never had a skunk burger. I've eaten some pretty shitty food out in the field, but never a skunk burger.
Okay. All right. The next, anything else on that?
No, that's good.
Okay. All right. The next one I wanted to get to is, man, you know what? We seem to talk about the Boston Beer Company way too much on this show, and they're making our feed again this week because the Boston Beer Company and PepsiCo are getting together to produce a new drink that's going to be hitting the shelves in early 2022. Get ready for Hard Mountain Dew. An alcoholic flavored malt beverage, early 2022. So far, it looks like you're going to have regular Mountain Dew flavor, black cherry, and watermelon. Zero sugar, though. It doesn't say anything about caffeine. 5% on the old ABV. Man.
Okay, this is interesting in that I don't know who I was talking to, but they worked for Pepsi. Is it Pepsi that does Mountain Dew?
Yes.
He worked for Pepsi, and he got roped into a tasting panel for Mountain Dew. And if everybody's familiar with local distributors, they get the syrup, they mix it, they can it or bottle it, whatever, and they distribute it locally. So, Mountain Dew isn't made in wherever Dolly World is. It's made in it's mixed and carbonated different places. And this guy was on a tasting panel, and it was a regional one, and Mountain Dew drinkers are picky AF. When they get a batch that's off, they call the company and complain big time. And Mountain Dew is the biggest quality assurance issue. The taste of Mountain Dew is the biggest quality assurance issue that PepsiCo has. Because
Really?
people are so insanely dedicated to the proper taste of Mountain Dew. So I'm wondering how this is gonna go over.
Because they drink so much Mountain Dew.
There's people. Look, I'm a diehard Coke guy, but I've weaned myself down to maybe one a week.
Mhm.
But there are Mountain Dew aficionados. They're pounding that shit to the tune of 5 or 6 cans a day.
Yeah.
And sure. I'm not joking.
No, I know you're not. I know I've seen the Mountain Dew heavy drinkers.
And so this is going to be an interesting progression of that entire product line to see how that goes. I will say a lot of people that drink Mountain Dew, I believe, are not alcohol drinkers. They're caffeine addicts.
Okay.
So this is going to be an interesting deal. So, and JVB, I don't remember your stuff about chemistry. It's been a long time since I've had to actually know that stuff. So this is going to be really interesting to see how the whole Mountain Dew. I will say this. Vodka and Red Bull drinks with the splash of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
It's pretty special.
Ooh, I haven't had it with a splash of Mountain Dew, but I wouldn't touch a vodka Red Bull anymore, but
because we have too many horror stories about that. What?
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's a dangerous mix. I can't even imagine throwing in a little more splash Mountain Dew. This is such a show for Solomon. Like the show would be over an hour long just with his big soda rant that he would be on at this point. Okay. So I just want to get a quick reaction on that. You know, another one that I saw, Bumwine Bob over on Twitter has always been a big proponent of Mountain Dew and Thunderbird. that was my
okay. You're there's only so much hillbilly you can do in one glass. I mean, come on.
Detneroid says Mountain Dew and Kraken is a pretty darn good combo too.
What, the Kraken and Seattle hockey team? What?
No, I don't think. It's funny that the vodka Red Bull thing is bringing everybody out into the chat. Like every. Yeah, Kraken. That's right. Kraken's a rum. So look for that, I guess, in the beginning of next year.
Look for it or don't look for it. I mean,
or don't. I mean, I don't know if this is how you start the year off right with some hard Mountain Dew. But look for it.
Can I say I'm a little surprised that it's taken this long?
Yeah, that's true. The watermelon flavor, John, has a snake on the can.
Awesome.
So
I may have to try it just because of that.
All right, and then we have now this story is pretty interesting. Especially this isn't a COVID related story, but it's definitely The theme hits a lot of the COVID things, but football season's around the corner.
Really?
I just heard like half our listenership just say like moan that no, we're not going to talk about fantasy football. But the Green Bay Packers are like, John, when was the last time you went to a football game or a baseball game?
Last football game I went to was October 31st. No, I went to a Denver Indianapolis game with our old friend Eric about 10 years ago. And that's when what's the other Manning?
Peyton
lit up the Broncos big time.
Mm.
And we watched him. We watched him destroy the Broncos. And the last Major League Baseball game I went to was also in Denver, and I watched the Rockies lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates of all people.
Rockies lose to someone.
Well, actually, they're not a terrible team. This year they're just not very good. But anyway, yeah. So your point being,
when you go to those games, do you enjoy hearing beer here? Beer here? You know, the folks walking up and down the aisles, harking out the beers, selling the beers, passing it down the line, getting the money down the line, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's America. That's Americana right there.
It's a part of the experience, right? I mean, sporting events are. I mean, the game is the primary thing.
Throwing bags of peanuts, three rows up, and then someone tossing the money down. Yeah,
it's all just part of the experience of going to these events. Green Bay Lambeau Field will no longer have concession people up and down the aisles selling beer. They are going to put more beer stands in because they're going to a completely cashless environment. So apparently for the beer here guys and ladies, they just couldn't make it work out with a cashless environment. So now you have to go to concessions to get your beer or your dog or anything else. And yeah, you will not hear the familiar call that beer is being served here.
So can I say, as a Buffalonian, second smallest market in the NFL, that's just fucked up.
I kind of agree with you on this one.
But all the ballparks that I've been to, and let's leave Denver out of it, because Denver is kind of a big city wannabe. They are the capital city of the Rocky Mountains, right? So it's got a different vibe to it. But the baseball games and the football games I've been to in my life have been in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. What do all those places have in common? A huge blue collar experience, right? So, I mean, and likewise, my baseball experience has been in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Denver. Why are you taking that? And here's the other thing is, we want to go cashless. The beer vendor's got to turn in all the money he gets. It's not an issue. The beer vendor is a subcontractor. He carries out a tray or a cooler around his thing, and he pops it open and pours it into a thing. He pays for those bottles of beer before he leaves.
Right. He purchases them.
And then he gets that cash back in the stands. It's on that guy or gal to do that. So I don't understand this cashless thing. I think it's bullshit. I think it's a conspiracy to become a cashless society. I jest, but it's, you should be able to pay cash for shit,
like
why you want to, like, that's,
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a conspiracy or anything. I don't necessarily think that there's, some evil purpose behind doing it. But yeah, like, I mean, I know we're going to end up there. It's just how it's going to be. But if you want to be able to pay cash for something,
I guess we're eventually going to get there, but do we have to get there tomorrow?
right?
I
Like,
mean, as far as this goes, I mean, the people that can afford to go to these games, because it ain't cheap to go to a baseball game or a football game or any professional sports thing. I mean, unless you live in a minor league city, Colorado Springs. I live in a minor league city. Even there, a beer at a AAA baseball game is $6.
if you're lucky.
Right. So you've got middle class people and middle to upper class people going to these things, and they just want to spend cash. They don't want to. Do you really want to be handing your debit card to some rando in the stadium? How much of vetting process did they do?
Yeah. So, and the story talked about, a guy that'd been doing it for like 50 years, that he'd been the beer guy at the Packer games, that he's not going to be able to do it anymore. But yeah, and I expect to see a lot more stadiums go this route. I just think it's just the way that we're moving. And I think COVID has really kind of accelerated that.
Well, let's not kid ourselves about the abuse of alcohol in the stands, right? I mean, how much control does a beer vendor have over how much stuff a guy's had? Some
there's no
guy
way.
that's not wearing a shirt and is painted in green and or yellow or red, white, and blue in the case in Buffalo. I mean, you're supposed to keep a handle on that stuff. And I guess the same guy or gal is supposed to work the same section. And do you cut the dude off? I kind of get it. But on the other hand, why do you got to kill that? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
to have breathalyzers on the way out of the stadium and pull a dude aside and say, you're getting an Uber.
I think I don't think any of it. I don't think any of the reasons that we've brought up is why it's happening. I think
it's just for the convenience of the people who have to count the money at the end of the day. They want to press a button rather than go like this.
And
right?
a convenience. It's probably an attempt at a convenience for the consumer too. That it's just tap or swipe.
I would imagine there's going to be some blowback because Green Bay's not going to stand for that any more than the good people of Western New York will stand for it, or Pittsburgh, or Cleveland, or Chicago, or Detroit, or Philadelphia, or Baltimore.
Okay, all right. We don't need to run through all. I'm sure San Francisco's fine with it, though.
They purchase their beers ahead of time, and then they pick them up at the counter.
Probably. They probably have an app for that.
They probably do.
It really probably should at all the stadiums. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait, that sounds way better than anything else.
Good idea.
All right. John, you got any stories you want to tell? Or should we just wrap this thing up?
Oh, let's just wrap this thing up.
All right. Not the usual show. Jeff Solomon, if you happen to listen to this episode, man.
Oh, he's yelling at us right now.
I'm sure.
It's really not now. It's tomorrow when you release it.
Just, we're with you, brother. But
hang tough, dude.
If Solomon's not on the show, it's just kind of a race until we can call.
Last call.
Last call. Time to clean house and lock the doors. You know what we do here, folks. We're looking for a little bit of help from you. John Riek, if the folks want to follow us on the social media platforms, how can they do so?
Well, there's a couple of them. One of them we don't pay attention to. That's Twitter. But if you want to go there, it's We Like Drinking 1. That's numeral 1. And Instagram, which is We Like Drinking, and everybody's favorite place to hang out, the Tavern, on Facebook, which is WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern. Invitation only. We don't check IDs. We let everybody in.
Everybody gets in. You don't have to tip us, pay cash, or swipe a card. You know what? While you're at it, John, if the folks want to leave a review for the show, how can they do so?
You know, if you're really technically savvy, you could search up Apple Podcast and look at our podcast and leave us not one, not two, not three, not four, not five. You could leave us a five-star, just like the benefits of getting Draciana wines, right? You could leave a 5-star review for our podcast. Right?
Do it.
Yeah.
And tell us what your favorite alcoholic caffeine mix combo that no one should ever drink is. Alcoholic caffeine do not mix, people. Can't say that enough times. Don't do it.
They do. It's just not good for you.
It's just horrible for you. I just looked at the chat. There's an angry biology lesson going on in the chat right now. Don't do it, folks. And if you've done all that and you want to do more, consider becoming a patron of the show, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help keep this show going for as long as it could possibly go. You can also find the show notes with this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at weliketrinking.com/episodes. That was a short one, but we've still reached the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
So just quickly, I mean, if you haven't been to Alaska, you should just go. Everybody in Texas says Texas is big, it's huge. They've never been to Alaska. It's people that say Texas is big, and New Mexico is really, really big, and Montana's huge, and Idaho's huge, and Utah's huge, and Nevada's huge, and Arizona's huge, and California is really, really huge, but nothing is as freaking huge as Alaska. And it's cool, and there's big animals there, and there's glaciers, and if you think that you've ever seen a big animal, you've never seen a moose.
Right.
If you've never seen a moose, and I'm not talking, hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Not Bullwinkle J Moose. I mean a real freaking moose. We saw 2 of them at a distance, and I said we were about 500 yards, and then we went down to a place south of Anchorage to walk on we walked on a glacier. We stopped at a brewery, a Girdwood, which is cool. Rory's a cool brewer there. But on the way back, we saw a moose on the side of the highway. They freaking block out the sun. They're as big as a school bus. They're huge. They're nasty. Don't fuck with them, but go to Alaska and see it for yourself. It's just cool. Go.
Go. But also, when you're there, be careful and stay away from hashtag Moose Spooky Man.
Moose Spooky Man. Oh, dude, Moose. Okay. So we went. Just real quick. I mean, we're still no. This is a public service announcement. So I had tried 17 beers while I was there. I won't say anything bad about the things that I really didn't like, but there's 2 breweries there that are really, really good. And one is 49th State. The other one is Midnight Sun. And they're both in Anchorage, and they make phenomenal beer. They got some really strict brewery laws up there about what they can serve and all that stuff. You'd think as a red state that it would be a little more lax and stuff, but they've got to follow some pretty strict stuff. But their product is really 49th State and Midnight Sun, really, really good breweries.
All right. Good to know. And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast, where you'll never drink alone. Sorry, folks, park's closed.
There were
Yeah.
parts of the parks we went to that were closed for salmon and beer activity. Not beer, bear activity.
Like beer activity.
There's
That
people
was
out
like-
there drinking beer. You got to stay off the trails.
Folks, if you're watching live, our good friend Annie Wolf Pouch is going to be on the show next week. Very excited for her to come on. I think it may be her 10th time.
I think it's 8.
Is it 8?
I think it's 8.
Maybe we'll call it 12. We'll see. So she's going to be on the show next week. It should be interesting, really, to hear,
Some of her challenges. Wow.
Jesus, the stuff that she's had to go through with her traveling craft beer traveling bus business. We'll get into some of the nightmares that she's had to go through. So it should be a fun one. We should have the whole crew back next week, is the plan. So hopefully things will get back to normal as we head into September. So thanks y'all for joining tonight. Sorry if tonight was a little weird. It's tough doing a 2-person show. I gotta say, but we will see you all next week.
See you, folks.